So in the last session, we started with the second chapter of module 3. So there we started discussing about how the main function, will start getting executed by the kernel. Okay, so before executing the main function, there will be a built-in routine. Okay, so that a startup routine will be executed before you start the main function. Okay, and then we saw what are the different ways the process can be terminated. Okay, there are 5 different ways. So one of the ways using the exit function. Okay, so again, exit function can have different exit handlers, around 32 functions it can handle. Okay, so we saw an example with the diagram, okay, representing how a C program is started and how it is terminated. Okay, so next we'll start with the topic command line arguments. Okay, so this is not a very new topic. It is similar to the C programming command line argument. So when a program is executed, the process that does the exe. Okay, exe is nothing but it's a first routine. Okay, the first uh, function which will be executed to start the startup routine. They can pass the command line arguments to the new program. Okay, so you can see here, this is an example for command line argument. Okay, it's a very simple example. Okay, so using this, you can collect a number of command line arguments, and you can store the arguments in the array. Okay, with the name argv. Okay, this is an array which is used for storing the arguments, command line arguments. So this will be having the count. Okay, so here in this example, we are having a for loop. Okay, the for loop will display the number of arguments, okay, that you have passed and the values that you have stored in the array. Okay, so you can see here, this is the output. Okay, so this is a program name and we have passed 3 arguments. Okay, so I is equal to 0, I is less than 3. Okay, so here initially in ARV0. Okay, so ARV0 will be having the program name. Okay, so altogether the count will become how much? So ARV0 will be having the program name, ARV1 will be having the first argument, this will be having the second argument, and this will be having the third argument. So all this will be displayed by using, okay, by using this for loop. A very simple program. So I will start with the 0. It will check whether it is less than 3. Yeah, ARGV, it is 4. Okay, number of arguments together with the file name, it will become 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so which will be less than 4. Okay, so it will display, and here you have the exit function which will terminate the process. So next topic is environmental list. Okay, environment list. So each program is also passed an environment list. Okay, so every program will be having certain environment list. Okay, this environment is similar to the argument list. Okay, so this environment list is also an array of character pointers. Okay, so similar to argument list, so this is an array of character pointers where each pointer will contain the address of the null terminated C string. Like you can see here, so this all the environmental list, okay, is a pointer. Okay, you can see here all these are pointers which is indicated by an arrow mark, and they all will contain the address of null terminated. So you can see here, this is a null terminated C string. Okay, so this is, okay, so these are all environmental list. Okay, they are having the environmental string name. So this is home, path, shell. Okay, they are all built-in functions, built-in commands. Okay, you have studied, right? While in the first module or second module, we studied the different built-in commands. Okay, so there we studied about home, path, and all. So these are all comes under environmental list, and they will be having the address, okay, which is null terminated, similar to the string in the C. Okay. The address of the array of pointer is contained in the global environment variable. Okay. So this environmental list, okay, they will be having an address, okay, which is a pointer, okay, which is a global, okay, this is also a global, okay, and it's a variable which will be having the name envi, okay, ron. So this is an environmental pointer which is pointing to the list of environment variables. Okay, so this figure will show environment consisting of 5 C character strings. Okay, this here how many we have? 5 environmental list. Okay, C character strings. And you can see here, this is how we declare the environment variable, okay, which is of array of pointers. Okay, so which is extern. Okay, we'll be using the keyword extern. Okay, it's a global variable. Okay, and you can see here, all this environmental string will be stored in the form of name and value pair. So this is a name. So this is a name equal to followed by this is value. So all environmental variable will be in the form of name and value pair. Okay. The next topic is memory layout of a C program. Even this topic is a very simple topic where we'll be discussing the different types of memory, okay, how we can deal with the memories, okay, which you have already studied in data structure, okay, or in DA, about the concept of allocating the memory, deallocating the memory, free the memory, what is stack, what is heap, okay, all these concepts will be having a brief introduction here. So a C program has been composed of following pieces of memory. Okay, so we'll be studying different types of memory layouts here. The first one is, the first term we'll be discussing, it is a text segment. Okay. Now what is a text segment? So text segment is nothing but a machine instruction. So you all know about machine instruction, right? Which will be in the form of zeros and one. Okay. Whenever you write a program, it will be converted into a machine instruction and that are executed by the CPU. Okay. So the text segment is nothing but machine instruction which is executed by the CPU. Next, text segment is shareable. Okay. So this machine instruction can be shareable so that only one single copy need to be in the memory which can be frequently executed by the programs. Okay, so this text segment will be having certain program which will be in machine instruction and it will be a single copy which can be used by different programs. Okay, what are the programs which can use this text segment? So text editor, C compilers, shell. Okay, these are the programs can make use of this text segments. Okay. Also, the text segment is often read only. Okay. For example, a boot program or initialization or startup routines. Okay. So those are all will be in the machine instruction form and they are only readable and can be used by different programs. Why? Because readable, to prevent the program from accidentally modifying this machine instruction. So all the programs can refer to this text segment which is there in the machine instruction form, but they cannot modify that. Okay. So this is about the text segment, and the next one is initialized data segment. So next, the concept what you have to understand in memory layout is initialized data segment. So initialized data segment, or we simply can call it as a data segment. So it contains variables that are specially initialized in the program. Okay, so what this will be having, data segment, they will be having a special initialized, okay, these are the initialized value, correct, in the program. So you will initialize max count with the value 99. Okay, so this is a C declaration. The variable is stored in the initialized data segment, which is with its initial value. So whenever you write a program, okay, which contains a statement something like this, initialization. For example, int a is equal to 100, int max is equal to 1000. So those are all initialization, and those initialization will be stored where? It will be stored in a memory layout where we call it as a data segment. Okay, the text segment, what it will be having? It will be having machine instruction, which is only readable, can be used by multiple programs, but data segment will be having initialized values. Okay, next one is uninitialized data segment. So this is also called as BSS. Okay, BSS, or we can call it as BSS stands for block started by symbol. Okay, BSS stands for block started by symbol. Okay, so uninitialized data segment or BSS segment. What is this BSS segment? So BSS segment will have data in the segment is initialized by the kernel to an arithmetic 0 or the null pointer. Okay, before the program starts executing. Okay, for example, when you declare an array, okay, you are declaring an array of type long with the value sum, sum name, array name is sum with around 1000 values. Okay, so what happens when you state the statement in the program? It will create an array, and all the default values of this array will be 0. Okay, so such segment of the code or such statements in the code are called as uninitialized data segment, and they all will be stored in BSS segment. Okay, so these are initialized. Okay, these are initialized values which will be stored in initialized data segment. These are all uninitialized data segment which will be stored in uninitialized data segment. So very simple. Here it is initialized, here it is not initialized. Okay, you can see here we have just created a array because we are not initialized with any array index values. The next memory layout, what you have to understand is a stack. Okay, so you are all familiar with the concept of stack and heap. Okay, so what is a stack? So stack will have automatic. Okay, so our total variable will be stored in the stack along with other information. Okay, so information that is saved each time a function is called. Then whenever each time the function is called, the address of where to return to and certain information about the caller's environment is saved on the stack. Okay, so stack will have what? So whenever you are making a call to a function, okay, so you are making a call to a function. For example, you are calling the function sum. Okay, so it will be declared at some part of the code, not exactly the very next line. Okay, it will be around, for example, this is 100 line. Okay, this is 99, line number 99. Somewhere around line number 150, okay, you will be having the definition of this function. Okay, you will be having entire definition about this function. Okay, so each time the function is called, the address of where to return. Okay, so you are calling the function. Okay, where to return after executing this. Okay, what is the address of this line? Okay, where to return. So this address, where to return. Okay, all this information will be saved on the stack. Okay, Usually stack will be having automatic variable. Also they will be having the return address of the function. Okay. So just an example. If this is 1,000 address, okay, and this is 1,004, okay. Then when you make a call to this function sum, it will go to this function, it will read the lines of the function, it will execute this function, and after that it should return to this address 1,004. So this address will be stored in the stack. Okay. So the program will understand that after executing the function sum, you should return to the address 1,004, which will be stored in the stack. So stack will be having the return address of the function. So this is about a stack. Next, memory layout, you have to understand it is heap. Okay, heap, it is a dynamic memory allocation. Okay, here it will be having dynamic memory allocation. Automatically the memory will be allocated, it will be deallocated, and it takes place on the heap. So heap has been located with uninitialized data and stack. So it will be having uninitialized data. Okay. And heap has been located. So where the heap will be located? It is between the top of uninitialized data. You can see here, it is on the, where it will be having, this is your text segment, this is initialized data segment, this is uninitialized data segment. On the top of uninitialized data segment, you will be having heap. Okay. And the bottom of the stack. Okay. Between the stack and the uninitialized data, you will be having heap. Okay. So this is the heap segment. Okay. Heap segment comes between the stack and the uninitialized data segment. So this is our entire memory layout. Okay. And you can see here on the top of the stack, you'll be having command line arguments and the environmental variables. So this diagram will show you typical memory arrangement. Okay. So where you have text segment, after that you have data segment, after that we have uninitialized data segment, next you have heap, and next stack, and at the top we have environmental variables or any command line arguments that you pass to a program. Okay. So the next one is shared libraries. Okay. So we have studied different libraries. To just name few, we have stdlib in C program. Okay. Yeah, just to stdio.h. Okay. So there are different libraries we have in C. Okay. In the libraries, we'll be having functions. Okay, which can be used at any point when you write the program. Okay. So what library will have? The library will have a single. Okay, the shared library will have a single copy of the library routine or library functions somewhere in the memory that all the process can reference. So you may be running 100 programs or any number of programs. All these programs can make use of these libraries, correct? Whenever you are writing a program, any number of program, 10 or 15 program, you will be making use of this shared library. Okay, or we call it as library routine. So this reduces the size of each executable file. So commonly this will be having two important statements. Okay, printf, correct. So whenever you write a program, you can make use of this library and you can just call this function, okay, which can be used for printing, and this is for reading the line. So you need not write this entire code for this function. You just need to give the name of the function and pass the parameter to this function. Okay. So it reduces the size of each executable file. You need not write what does the printf statement tells, what are the definition, what is the definition of scanf statement. You need not write anything about that. You just need to give the name of the function and pass the parameters. So size of the code will be reduced. Okay. One disadvantage is it may add some runtime overhead. Okay, some amount of time may be wasted either when the program is first executed or first time each shared library is called. So whenever you are executing the program for the first time, okay, your program need to get connected to this library. It doesn't take much time. Okay, a fraction of seconds will be taken. Where the first time when the program is executed, each library function okay, need to be called. Okay, so that is some overhead or a small disadvantage of going for shared library, okay, which can be covered with the many advantages. So what are the advantages of going for shared libraries? So library function can be replaced with new version. Okay, so for example, this new version after 5 years or after 2-3 years, if you get a new version of this library, okay, what we can do is you can just replace the code of this library. Okay, the name remains same. They can be replaced with a new version without having to relink, edit, or modify every program that uses the library. Okay, so whichever program that make use of this library need not be modified. Okay, just you need to modify and update with the new version of this. Okay. So you need to update the new version of this without modifying the code that uses this library. With the CC compiler, okay, we can use the option -G. So in the C, we will be using this -G option to indicate that we are using shared library. Okay, so we are using GCC compiler, right? Similarly, we have CC compiler. So if you are using CC compiler, we have to use option -G. Okay, so this is about shared library. The next one is memory allocation. So here in memory allocation, okay, these are you are all familiar with these terms. So there are three functions for memory allocation. Okay, for dealing with the memory, basically there are three terms: malloc, calloc, and realloc. Okay, so what does malloc does? So malloc will allocate the memory space. Correct. It allocates the specified number of bytes of memory. So it will allocate the space in the memory, and the initial value of the memory is indeterminate. Okay, so it will be having some dummy values. Okay, so malloc is used for allocating the memory space. What is calloc? So it is also used for allocating the space of a specified number of objects. Okay, some specified size will be allocated. The difference here is the space is initialized with the 0 bits. So what is the value you will be having in calloc? We will be having 0 bits. Okay, so that is the difference between malloc and calloc. Next, coming to one more. Okay, so realloc. So assume that you have allocated around 500 bytes. Okay, 500 bytes of memory. Okay. Now you would like to change it to 1000. Okay, you would like to change it to 1000. You want to decrease. Okay, if you want to decrease or increase the size of previously allocated area, then you can, if you want to change it to 1000, okay, you can do it by using realloc function. Okay, so when the size increases, it may involve moving the previously allocated area somewhere else to provide the additional room at the end. So if we want to see here, we want to increase from 500 to 1000. Okay, now suppose there is no space here to increase from 500 to 1000. There is no, it is already occupied here. Okay, assume that it is already occupied. Then in that case, okay, what it will do? It will remove this Okay, it will deallocate this, and separately somewhere in the memory, okay, it will allocate this 1000 space. Okay, 1000 bytes of memory space. Okay, so it completely removes this 500. So when the size increases, the initial value of the space, okay, between the old content and the end of the new area is indeterminate. So these are the prototype, okay, syntax. So this is data structure you have already studied. What is malloc, calloc? Okay, this is realloc. So all the three, okay, all these memory allocation functions will return a non-null pointer. If everything is okay, if it is capable of allocating the space or reallocating the space, it will return non-null pointer. Okay. If it is there is any problem, then it will return a null value. Okay. There is one more, okay, which we call it as free. Okay. So free is used for what? For freeing the memory space. If you want to deallocate the memory space. So this is the syntax of free. So these are the basic memory allocation functions. Okay. So apart from this, there are a few concepts you have to understand, and few functions. We'll be just introducing few functions. Uh, Allocation routines are usually implemented. So we saw about malloc, calloc and all. So they are built-in functions or built-in routines. They will be implemented, okay, which will be inside which function? SBRK2 system call, implemented using the system call. Okay. So this system call expands, okay, or it will decrease this heap of the process. Okay. So this system call is necessary for increasing or decreasing the space in the heap. Okay. So it is important to realize the most implementation allocates a little more space. Okay, for example, if you want to allocate 500 bytes, okay, in addition to 500 bytes, it will be adding few more bytes. Maybe for example, 5 more bytes. Okay, just an example. Why this 5 more bytes? Okay, what will be there in this 5 more bytes? So this 5 more bytes, okay, additional space will be used for record keeping. Okay, actually you are telling we need only 500 bytes, but in addition to that, few more space will be allocated. They will be having the record keeping information. What is this record keeping information? It will be having the size of the allocated block. Okay, how many size you have allocated, the pointer to the next allocated block. Okay, which is the next block. Okay, other information will be there in this 500 bytes. Okay. So let us look into few more memory allocation functions. Okay. So this is one more function, libmalloc. Okay. So this is used in SVR, SVR4 based systems. Okay. This is also a Unix based system, Solaris. Okay. Version of Unix. Okay. In this, we have one more function for dealing with memory, which we call it as libmalloc library. Okay, so what does this function will do? It provides a set of interface matching the ISO C memory allocation function. Okay, so it includes a function called as, okay, MALL opt. Okay, a function that allows the process to set a certain variable that controls the operation of storage allocators. Okay, so So this is an additional function, okay. So where we can perform additional operation on the storage memory space. So it is also available to provide the statistics of the memory allocator. So statistics means how many memory is allocated, how much is deleted. So all the statistics will be given using this function. Okay. malinfo. So there are two functions. One is malopt and malinfo. These two is there inside the library libmalloc library. So this will give control the operations, okay, for performing certain operations, okay, adding or deleting the memory, and this will give you the information about the memory. Okay, how much memory is allocated and what are the information, what is address, okay, at which particular address you have allocated the memory. So all this information will be given by this function malinf. Okay, so next we have one more library, okay, vmalloc. So vmalloc is a process to allocate memory using different techniques for different regions of the memory. So we can use different techniques. Okay, so this you need not worry about much. Okay, so this is just in so just you must know the different functions or other functions other than malloc, calloc, and what are the other memory allocation functions we have. Okay. So the next concept is quick fit. Okay, what is a quick fit? So standard malloc algorithm. Okay, so we studied about malloc. So it allocates memory based on best fit or first fit memory allocation strategy. So there are two strategies, right? So first fit or best fit. Okay, for example, what is first fit? I need to allocate 500 bytes. Okay, so it will search, okay, 500 bytes. If it finds somewhere around here 500 bytes, it will allocate it. Okay, the best fit will, what it will do, it will search the best space to allocate this 500 bytes. Okay, the quick fit, there is one more concept called as quick fit. What is quick fit? So it is faster either compared to the best fit or first fit, okay, but tends to use more memory. So it is allocating the memory. Okay, the free implementation of malloc or free based on QuickFit are readily available from several FTP sites. Okay, so this is one more concept other than best fit, first fit. There is one more concept called as QuickFit, which is used for allocating the space. Okay, so these are different algorithms, okay, for allocating the memory. Next function, what you have to understand is alloc function. Okay. So apart from malloc, calloc, free, and the next one is alloc a. So this function has the same calling sequence as malloc. So this is similar to that of malloc. However, what is the difference? Instead of allocating memory from the stack, okay, so malloc, calloc, realloc, they all deals with the heap, but alloc function, what it will do, it will allocate where? In the stack. Okay, so where space will be allocated, not in the heap, it will allocate the space in the stack, or we call it as a stack frame. Okay, the advantage is that we don't have to free the space. Okay, we do not call free function for freeing the heap space. It goes automatically when the function returns. Okay, whenever you make a call to this function, okay, the memory will be allocated in the stack, and when you return from this function, automatically the space will be deleted. Okay, so this can be used to perform certain temporary operations. Okay, so temporary memory allocation, for that we can use this function, alloc function. So it increases the size of the stack frame. Okay, what is the disadvantage of allocating the space in the stack? It is that some system cannot support alloc function. So this is very important. Okay, some functions, some systems, they don't support this. Okay, so Unix systems and all, they will support this function. Okay, some systems will not support this. If it is impossible to increase the size of the stack frame after the function is called, so some systems, they are not able to allocate the space in the stack. Okay, they cannot increase the space of the stack. Okay, they will be having the fixed size of the stack. Okay. So next we will be studying a few more things about environmental variable. Okay, we saw about what is environmental list, which will be in the form of name and value pair. So next thing which we'll be studying about environmental variables. Okay. So if you remember, here we studied about environmental list. Okay. The environmental list will be having in the form of name and value pair. So this is the environmental variable. Okay. Environmental variable will be having a pointer to the environmental list. Okay, which in turn will be having the pointer to the environmental string, which is in the form of name and value pair. Okay. So next we'll be studying about environmental variables. So in shell, okay, in shell we have different environmental variables, several numerous environmental variables. For example, we have home, user, shell. Okay, so these variables are set automatically during the time of login. Okay, when you log in, it will tell what is a home. Okay, which is your home, and who is a user who is using the system, what type of shell you are using. Okay, we have already executed these commands, right? If you remember, in module 2 we executed these commands. It will tell you what type of shell you are using, which is your home directory, and a few more uh, environmental variables. Okay. So in C, okay, in the C, we define functions that can be used to set or fetch environmental variables. Okay, so we can get what are the list of environmental variables we have, and we can also set the new environmental variables. So from the variable, okay, so we have this related environmental variables, set env function, put env function, get env function. Okay, so these are different functions related to environmental variable. Okay, so this is an example you can see here, which is used to get the environmental variable. So what are the different types of environmental variables we have, and what it will return? It will return the pointer to the value associated with the name. Okay, how we have to give? You have to specify the name of the environmental variable. You want to get the information about the environmental variable shell. Okay, so this is one environmental variable shell. Okay, if you want to get the information about that, so you have to write get env and pass the name of the shell. Okay, so it will give the pointer to the value associated with the shell. Okay, if there is any error, then it will return you the null value. Okay, so this is a header file required. Okay, and this is for put. Okay, so put is used for to add a new environmental variable, and this is used for setting. If you want to set a new environmental variable, okay, for example, you want to set a new environmental variable with the name shell1. Okay, and give the value to that, what type of value. Okay, and specify the integer value, whether you can change this. Okay, whether any user can change this value. Okay, so that will be having the integer value. And next one is unset. Unset is used for deleting some environmental variable from the system. I want to delete this. Okay, shell. Okay, so for this you need root user privilege. Okay, only then you can delete the environmental variable. So I want to delete this environmental shell. So I have to use which unset function. Okay, so for example, home we want to delete. Okay, so you can give this. So there are 4 functions or prototypes Okay, these are the prototypes. So get env will give you the information about the specified environmental variable. Put is used to add the environmental variable. This is also to add a new environmental variable with the values, and you have to specify whether you can rewrite it or not. This is used for deleting the environmental variable. Okay. So these are different environmental variables. Okay, a few you are familiar. Okay, home, it will give you the home directory. Language, what type of language you are using. Okay, there are few more columns. It will give you the terminal width. What is the width of the terminal? Okay, so there are few more. Just go through. So few things you have to understand. Okay, when dealing with the environmental variable, if the size of the new value is less than or equal to the size of the existing value, I said I said the environmental variable will be in the form of name and value pair. For example, shell is equal to, okay, we'll be having some value. Okay, uh, just a value. Okay, USR bin, just an example, and it will be terminated with a null string. This is important. Okay, so this is a name and this is a value. Okay, if the size of the new value, now if you want to change this value, okay, and you are specifying the value which is less than or equal to the size of the existing value, okay, we can just copy the new string over the old string. What you can do, the new value, okay, you can copy it to this shell for this name. Okay, if you want to change it to USR, if you want to change it to USR, okay, and K shell, okay, form shell, somewhere something like this you want to change. Okay, then what you can do, if they are having the same length, simply you can copy it. You can delete this value and you can simply copy this new value because their size is equal. Okay. Suppose if the size is new value is having larger than the old value. If the string length what you are writing, okay, what you are giving is larger than the old string value, then what you have to do? You must allocate, okay, a new room for the new string and copy the new string to this new area, and then replace the old pointer in the environment list for the name of with the pointer with the allocated area. Okay, then what you have to do? You have to allocate a new space for this new value. Okay, so that is about modifying the existing name. What if the size is less and what if the size is large? Okay, so you have to remember you have to allocate a new room. Okay, so here you can see here room for the new string. Okay. So if you are adding a new name, okay, it is more complicated. Now assume that you want to change, you want to add a new name, you want to add a new environmental variable. Okay, so for example, I want to add shell1, new environmental variable, okay, to the system. So it is more complicated. Okay, what are the steps we have to follow? First, we have to allocate. Okay, you have to call malloc function and allocate a new room. Okay, for storing the environmental variable name and environmental variable value. Okay, and copy the string to this new area. Okay, now if it is a first time, okay, if you are adding this shell1 environmental variable for the first time, okay, then we have to call allocate function, malloc function to allocate a room for the new pointer. Then we copy the old environmental list to this new area and store this name and value pair in the new area. Okay, and terminate the null pointer at the end of the list. You have to terminate it every time. Remember, this null pointer is very important. And finally, set the environmental pointer to this new list. Okay, so you need a pointer here. Okay, so like this you have to set the pointer, okay, for the new list. If you are adding, you have to set a new pointer and write the new value, name and value pair. Suppose if it is not the first time, okay, if you are not adding it is the first time, then we have added a new string to the environment list, then we know that we have already allocated the room for the list in the heap. Okay, then what you have to do, if you have, it is a new, not a new one, you want to make a modification, so in that case you can go for reallocation. Okay, reallocate and make a room for the new environment variable if you are modifying. So the next function is set jump and long jump function. Okay, so this is similar to the go to statement you have seen in the C. Okay, so you have studied in the C, correct? How will you give? So you give in the program, in the C program, you specify go to and you write a label here, correct? So label can be something, a name, any name you can give. Okay, so for example, you are writing go to sum. Okay, then somewhere, okay, here you will be having that label. So what happens? So whenever the program come across the statement go to sum, the control will be transferred to this label sum. So this is about go to, correct? So go to statement is used for altering the normal sequence of the program execution by transferring the control to the some other part of the program. So what is doing? So what it is happening here? Normal execution means you have to execute the next line, correct? But instead of that, what we do, you make it jump here. You make it jump to the some other part of the program. Okay, so this is your complete program. Okay. But we cannot use go to. Okay, suppose if you want to jump to another function. Okay, so this is a drawback of go to statement. Suppose if you want to jump to another function, okay, somewhere there is one more function is there, okay, if the label is here, sum, okay, so this is not possible. Only you can make a jump to the, in the same function, okay. So go to can be used only to jump from one place to another place in the same program, but not in the another program or another function. So for that, you will be using these two functions, okay, to overcome the drawback of jump. I mean go to. We will be using set jump and long jump function to perform these type of branching. That means, so set jump and long jump function can be used to move to any part of the program. In any function, you can make a jump. Okay. So suppose I want to jump from this function 1, okay, to function 2. Okay, so I cannot use go to. Okay, I cannot use go to. In that case, to make a jump from function f1 to f2, I can use set jump and long jump function. Okay, so these two functions are useful for handling error condition, okay, that occurs in a deeply nested function call. So mainly they are used for handling error conditions. So look at the prototype. So this is a set jump. Okay. So how you are giving? So set a jump. Okay, this is like setting a label. Okay, set the jump and jump buff you have to specify env. So in set the jump, okay. So here in the set the jump, so you will specify, okay, here you will be specifying the location that you want to return to. Okay, the location that you want to return to. So it returns 0 if it is called directly or non-zero if it is returned from call to the long jump. So I'll explain this with the example. Okay, so this is a long jump. Okay, so I'll explain this to with the example. So set_jump function records or marks the location in the program code so that later the long jump function is called from some other function. The execution of the program can continue from location onwards. So look at this example, it will be clear. Okay, so declare some header functions. Okay, here we have. Okay, so here we have specifying. Okay, a label. Okay, so set_jump. Okay, in the set_jump we will be having the argument. You can see here you will be having an argument env. So env is an argument of the special data type. So this is a data type. Okay, jump buff. Okay, jump buff is a special data type. Okay, and this data type is some form of the array which that is capable of holding all the information required to restore the status of the stack to the state when we call the long jump. Okay, so here you can see here we have specified a variable with the name jump buffer, which is of the data type. Okay, jump buff. Okay, so for that we need this header file. Okay, next you see here we have initialized. Okay, we have initialized jump buffer by calling set_jump. So set_jump is used for initializing. Okay, like you are setting the label. Okay, where you want to jump. So set_jump is initializing. Okay, and this is a label. Okay, which is of the type jump buff. So it will return. Okay, when you call this function for the first time, it will return 0. Okay, when you call it for the first time. Okay, so what it will do? Set_jump, jump buffer. This is a label. You can give any name. Okay, not necessary you have to give this name, jump buffer, but it should be of type what? Jump underscore buffer, which is of a built-in data type. Okay, so when you call this, it will return 0 for the first time. Okay, 0 is not equal to 0. Condition. Okay, so here 0 is not equal to 0. Yes, condition is true. Okay. Next you can see here so here we are calling the function. Okay, so here it will print the error. Okay, if there is any error, it will print the error. Okay, next line we'll be having while statement. Okay, so in the while statement, okay, so 0 is not equal to 0. Okay, so condition is false. So you'll come for the while loop. So in the while loop, you can see we are using fgets function. Okay, so fgets function is a built-in function where you are passing 3 parameters: line, max line, and stdin. Okay, so fgets here we are using. So when we encounter an error, okay, in the CMD add function, so first is the env that is used to call the set_jump. Okay, and second, okay, do line. Here you can see here we are calling the function do line. Okay, so do line, what it will do? It will call the function add CMD add. So in the CMD add, okay, so we are getting the tokens. Token is nothing but the command. Okay, so if the command is less than 0, we are calling this function. Okay, so you have to see the syntax. Okay, here concentrate on the syntax. So long jump, what is the first parameter? The first parameter is nothing but it is the env value that you have passed. Okay, so for the long jump, it is having two parameters. The first one is the env. Okay, env value that is used to call the set jump, and the second one is a value. Okay, you can see here, second one is a value. So what is the value we have written here? It is a non-zero value. Okay, that becomes the return value to the jumps. So this is the return value that you are passing to the set jump. So what you are passing for the set jump, we are passing the value 1. Okay. Okay. So from set jump, okay, we are passing the return value 1. Okay, it's a non-zero value. Okay. The second argument is allow us to have more than one long jump. You can have different return values here. Okay, not only one. You can create one more long jump. Okay, like this same thing you can write here. Okay, with the return value 2 here. Okay. So like that you can have the different types of long jump. Okay, with the different values. Okay. So now when it returns 1, 1 is not equal to 0 condition is true. Okay, 1 is not equal to 0. So at that time it will print the error. So what we are doing here is, so here we are using long jump here. Okay, so whenever you call a long jump, it will return the control to where? To the set jump function. Okay, it will return the control to the set jump function with the return value that you specify as a second argument. Okay, so main thing what you have to understand here is, okay, set jump is used like a label. Okay, to set a label, and long jump is used to pass the control of the program to the specified environment variable, that is jump buffer, and with the return value. Okay. So this is what the explanation is given. The first time when the set jump is called, it will give you the value 0. Okay. Long jump will transfer the control flow to the location that is stored in the env argument. Okay. The process program code is marked with env, must be in the function that is among the caller of the current function. Okay. So the value can be any non-zero value. Okay, just to go through this. Okay. So this is a stack. So first you will be having the main function, then you had one more function do line, again you had one more function cmd. Okay, so this is the stack view. Okay, how different functions are called. So this is all for today. Okay. So mainly set jump and long jump is similar to the concept of the jump you have in C program. Okay. The only difference is what you can see here is, okay, you have different functions here, correct? Not just one function. Okay. Goto can be used only within a single function. But here you are making transfer from here to here. You have different functions here. Okay. Actually, the set jump is in the main function, but here long jump is where? In the CMD add function. Okay, from CMD add function you are making it jump to which function? Main function. Okay,